It began in Chicago, on the 12th of January. A subtle disturbance, like a faint hum in the background, impossible to pinpoint but always there. 3 months ago, I first noticed it. Back then, I blamed stress, maybe burnout, or just my mind playing tricks on me. Back then, my days were painfully average. I'd wake up at 6:30 a.m., smack the snooze button twice, then drag myself out of bed for a quick shower. I always made the same breakfast: scrambled eggs, toast, and the kind of coffee that tastes like disappointment. By 7:15, I'd be out the door, earbuds in, hoodie up, and halfway to the corner cafe before my brain caught up with my body. It was my little ritual: early coffee from Joe's on 3rd Street, where the same barista smiled too much and spelled my name wrong on the cup. Every single time. Then I'd walk a few extra blocks before heading back, just to stretch my legs. I liked those moments. The city still half asleep, the air cool, the streets scattered with dog walkers and delivery vans, quiet, predictable. I worked from home, freelance graphic design, so my schedule was flexible. Some days I'd hit the gym late morning. Other days, I'd wander to the laundromat down the street or make a grocery run just to get out of the apartment. My life had a rhythm, familiar faces, familiar routes. And then, slowly, something shifted. It was a Tuesday, I think, cold enough for my breath to fog up in front of me. I was walking my usual route, earbuds in, music low. As I passed a shop window, something in the reflection caught my eye. A mantle, average build, wearing a gray hoodie just a few steps behind me. No big deal, right? Cities are crowded, people walk. But then I stopped to tie my shoe, and he stopped too. Not abruptly, not suspiciously, just like he suddenly had the same idea. I ducked into the cafe, peeking over my shoulder as I opened the door. He kept walking. No glance, no hesitation. Gone. I didn't think much of it, until it happened again. And again, different times, different places. Once at the grocery store, standing a few aisles away, pretending to read a cereal box. Another time outside my gym, leaning against a lamppost, scrolling through his phone. Always the same man, same gray hoodie, never close enough to speak, never close enough to confront. By week 2, I was unraveling. I kept telling myself it was nothing, a coincidence. Maybe someone in the neighborhood with a similar schedule. But every time I looked over my shoulder, every time I turned a corner, I felt him. Not just saw him, felt him. My friends laughed it off when I brought it up. Maybe you've got a secret admirer, Lisa joked, sipping her wine. Or a doppelganger, Mark added with a grin. Maybe you're stalking yourself. I laughed along, but it felt fake, like I was trying to smother something rising in my chest. Dread, maybe, or the truth. So I tested it. One night, I left the apartment and started walking. No destination, no pattern. I zigzagged through streets, doubled back, took side alleys and random turns. I walked into shops I'd never entered before, or stood under bus shelters without waiting for a bus. And every time I turned around, there he was, always a few paces behind. Same posture, same hoodie, never speaking, never chasing, just there. It was no longer a question of coincidence. I was being followed, watched, hunted on. I had no idea why. I called the police, but without a name, a face, or a threat, there wasn't much they could do. They recommended I stay aware and avoid walking alone at night. As if that solved anything. It got worse. It started with a note slipped under my door. I like how you wear blue on Thursdays. No name, no signature, just that one line, written in neat, careful handwriting. My stomach turned. A shiver crawled up my spine. I didn't know what unsettled me more, the familiarity or the fact that someone had clearly been watching me. I tore the note into pieces and flushed it. The next morning, I ordered pepper spray. I stopped sleeping with my window cracked open. Something in me, something instinctive, had shifted. Over the next few days, my sleep grew fragmented. Every creak in the walls, every gust of wind against the window felt sharper, more urgent. I found myself flinching at the hum of the fridge, second-guessing shadows in the corner of my vision. I chalked it up to paranoia at first. Maybe I was just tired. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I changed my locks, installed motion-detecting security cameras, Canceled my gym membership. I didn't feel safe walking there anymore, especially in the evenings. My routines disintegrated. Fear had burrowed its way into every part of my life. And then, nothing. The visits, the notes, whatever or whoever it was stopped. A day passed, then 2, then a week. No messages, no strange sounds, no signs. I should have felt relieved, but the silence was worse. It felt like the air just tightened. Like I was holding my breath in a dark room, waiting for something to lunge out of the shadows. Then came the call. A blocked number. My heart spiked the moment I saw it. I almost didn't answer, but my hand moved on its own. I pressed the screen to my ear. Silence. Not empty silence, but breathing. Slow, measured, and intentional. I ended the call immediately. My hands were shaking. That night, I left every light on. I didn't sleep. Not really. Just closed my eyes and drifted in and out of half-dreams, my heart thudding every time the pipes groaned or a car passed outside. The next day, I found a USB drive taped to my front door. It was wrapped in masking tape, like someone didn't want to leave fingerprints. I stood there for a long time, staring at it, debating whether to toss it straight into the trash. But curiosity, or maybe something more desperate one, I dug out my old laptop, one I hadn't used in years, and made sure it was offline before plugging it in. There was only one file, a video. I clicked play. The footage was dark, grainy, but immediately recognizable. It was my bedroom, my bed. The camera angle was low, from the foot of the bed, pointing directly at where I sleep. And there I was, tossing, turning, completely unaware that I was being watched. The video zoomed in slowly, deliberately, closer and closer, until my face nearly filled the frame. The timestamp was from 2 nights ago. He had been inside. I stopped the video and ran, straight to the police station. This time, they listened. Maybe it was the way my voice cracked. Maybe it was the terror etched on my face. Or maybe the video was just undeniable. They opened an investigation that same day. 2 days later, they found partial fingerprints on the inside of my window frame. Enough for a match. His name was Evan. No priors, no known history of violence. Just a quiet, forgettable man who lived barely 2 blocks from me. When they raided his apartment, it was empty. He was gone. Vanished. But what they found inside, it still haunts me. There were photos. Dozens of them. Me walking to work. Me eating lunch. Me reading on the couch. Me sleeping. Some from across the street. Others clearly taken from inside my home. He had detailed notice times I left the house, when I got back, what time I usually showered, sketches of my floor plan. There were arrows pointing to places where I kept spare keys, notes about which window creaked less when opened. But there was one photo that made me sick to my stomach. It was me in the shower steam blurring the glass, but my outline clear. I hadn't known. I hadn't even felt it. Underneath, in messy scrawl, his handwriting read, "She looks even better wet." Police believed he had been entering my apartment for weeks, maybe months. They suspected he made a copy of my key, or found a way to get in through the back without me knowing. He had been watching me, up close, in the most vulnerable moments of my life. I didn't hesitate. I moved immediately. I left everything, my job, my friends, my favorite cafes, and the apartment I had once called home. I relocated to an entirely different city, got a new job, a new phone number, and scrubbed every trace of myself from the internet. Social media accounts gone. Email addresses deleted. I even cut off contact with people I loved, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't afford to be found again. The first few months were brutal. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Every sound was a potential threat. A creaking floorboard, a door clicking shut in the hallway. Even the hum of the refrigerator seemed ominous. I changed the locks twice. I had a top-rated security system installed. Every night before bed, I'd check closets, under the bed, behind the shower curtain just to make sure I was alone. I left lights on in every room and kept pepper spray within reach at all times. Panic was a constant hum under my skin, but slowly, painfully, the fear began to loosen its grip. I stopped waking up in cold sweats. I could walk down the street without constantly glancing over my shoulder. I even laughed again. For a while, it felt like maybe I was finally safe. Maybe he had given up. Maybe I could finally breathe. But deep down, I never truly stopped waiting.